If you're looking to buy a stacked NBA 2K account with max badges and more, visit sportstmb.com. He has been in the community for years and has hundreds of reviews. Click the first link in the description to get your account today.
Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload almost daily on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent sports talk during the quarantine, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on the video real quick. It makes a massive difference and it only takes a second. I was asked not too long ago who I thought the most underrated player in NBA history was, and I really did not have a quick answer or really an answer at all. And this was not from a lack of candidates. Guys like Elgin Baylor I feel are very underrated. Gary Payton, Kevin Garnett, David Robinson, Elvin Hayes, Rick Barry, Robert Parrish, Dwight Howard, Isaiah Thomas. My struggle to answer this question was not from a lack of candidates, but rather having to choose just one player throughout over 70 years of NBA history. And upon doing my video ranking the best sixth men of all time, I think I found my answer. To me, the most underrated player of all time was a 6'5" guard/forward who played for the Celtics in the 60s and 70s, named John Havelcheck. John Havelcheck is probably a name that you have heard before if you're an avid NBA fan. As a matter of fact, you probably know his name from this specific call.
Greer's putting the ball on a play. He gets it out deep, and Havelcheck steals it. Over the fence roll. Havelcheck stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over.
However, it's not a name that you probably know all that much about. John Havelcheck, or Hondo as he was called, started off his career as a sixth man on the Bill Russell Boston Celtics. John was taken with the 6th pick in the 1962 NBA draft, where he joined a team that had already won 5 straight championships, led by the best player in the NBA and a legendary head coach in Red Auerbach. Certainly not a bad situation to start off your career in. And John had an immediate impact. He started off his career averaging 14 points and 7 rebounds on 45% shooting off of the bench. And as the next few years went on, John's scoring numbers saw a bit of an increase with a slight decrease in efficiency. Over the next 2 seasons, he averaged 19 points a game, but he shot just 41%. However, in the 60s, an era that had a very high pace, the league average field goal percentage was just 42.6%. So by the league standards, he was doing alright. Hondo was very big for a guard. Now 6'5" was not all that much taller than the average guard in the NBA, despite the popular belief that every player back then was 5'9". However, he was much stronger and bigger than most guards. However, when he played small forward, he was quicker than most of them. Back then, small forwards were really just a position for guys who weren't really guards or bigs, so they were a little bit slower, but not as skilled as guards. So Hondo could blow by small forwards, but also body shooting guards, so as a result, he became an already good scorer from the jump, but then as the years went on, he went from being a bad shooter to one of the best in the league. But it was in John's 4th season where he really broke a stigma around the league. At the time in the NBA, starters commonly averaged around 40 minutes a game. So as a result, bench players were seen as much lesser than starters in comparison to today's game. The bench was for the bad players. However, in Hondo's 4th season in the league, he averaged 19, 6, and 3 and was selected to an All-Star and All-NBA team in the process, making him the first player in NBA history to make an All-Star team coming off of the bench, and with that, he officially broke the stigma. When people talk about the greatest sixth man of all time, John really was the first legitimate sixth man that made an impact. Previous to Havelcheck on the Celtics, teams did not really need bench pieces because they started their players for 90% of the game, so it did not matter if that 10% wasn't all that great. John changed that. And throughout his career as a six-man, John won multiple championships. In the 8 seasons that he came off of the bench, he won 6 championships. They won 4 straight to start his career, and if you think that was John just benefiting from being on a good team, Havelcheck was a key reason why that team was so good. He led the team in scoring for 2 of those 6 championship seasons and came second in scoring in 2 more. He also had the famous play that I mentioned earlier. The reason that the announcer was so pumped that Havelcheck stole the ball is because Bill Russell had just made a crucial mistake that could have costed the Celtics a championship. This was in the conference finals in Game 7. Bill Russell threw an inbound pass that hit the backboard, which gave Philadelphia a chance to win the game. But, well, Havelcheck stole the ball. Havelcheck played his role flawlessly. Now, would he have won as many championships not on the Bill Russell Celtics team? No, but you can't say he was carried. And one thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Havelcheck was great in many of these finals series. So great that he probably should have won a finals MVP or 2, but the award just didn't exist. In the 1968 finals, he averaged 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 42% from the field. He definitely had the best numbers in that series, and he was second in minutes played for the Celtics in that series, with over 80 more minutes played than the guy who started over him in Sam Jones, and just 1 less minute than Bill Russell. And in the 1969 finals, he averaged 28, 11, and 4 on 46% shooting, with him playing over 100 more minutes than third place. For the last 2 of those 11 championships that the Bill Russell Celtics won, it was really a duo of Russell and Havelcheck. Now, there was a finals MVP handed out in the 1969 finals, however, this one was infamously given to Jerry West, which it should not have been. Yes, Jerry averaged an absurd 38, 5, and 8 on 49% shooting in the series. However, he was the only player in NBA history to be given the award in a series that he lost, and it just so happens to be the first year where the award existed and had no precedents. But if those precedents had existed as they should exist, John Havelcheck absolutely would have walked away with that finals MVP. So those are 2 finals MVPs that he should have gotten as a 6-man, as well as 4 All-Star appearances, 6 championships, 4 All-NBA selections, 1 All-Defensive Second Team selection, and over 10,000 points scored. That's what John did as a 6-man, but after Bill Russell retired in 1969, Tom Heinsohn, who was the coach of the team and a former teammate of John's, started him at the 2-guard spot. And in his first year as a starter, he averaged 24 points per game as well as 8 rebounds, and as the starter and star main focus of the team, Hondo was asked to be more of a playmaker, where he averaged a career best at that point, 6.8 assists per game, and he shot a career best 46% from the field. And in the following season, John had his best individual statistics of his career. He averaged 29 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 7.5 assists, shooting 45% from the field. Those are some LeBron-esque numbers coming from a player in the 70s. That's what made John that much better as a starter. Being a starter unlocked a key thing for John, which was making more of an impact with his versatility. Off of the bench, he was really asked to be a source of offense and defender, but as a starter, he was asked to do everything, which was not common to see in this period of NBA basketball. He was a great rebounder for a 6'5" guy. He was a phenomenal defender. He was a great playmaker. And keep in mind that this was in a time period where scorekeepers were much more strict about what they considered assists, so realistically he was more of a 9 to even 10 assists per game guy at this point. The Celtics, however, unfortunately only won 44 games, which kept John out of the MVP conversation that he otherwise probably would have been in. Over the next 2 seasons, John averaged 25, 7, and 7 on 45% shooting, however the Celtics continued to disappoint in the playoffs. But in the 1973-74 season, the Celtics would walk away with the championship. When people talk about the Celtics championship teams, the 08 Celtics, Bird Celtics, and Bill Russell Celtics are really the only teams that people talk about. But in 1974, the Celtics, led by John Havelcheck, won the championship. See, initially after Bill Russell retired, the Celtics were not very good, so as a result, they got the 4th pick in that year's draft, which they used to select future MVP and Hall of Famer Dave Cowens, and later in that draft they also selected future Hall of Famer JoJo White, who was a scoring point guard, which was not too common for his time. This team won 56 games and the 1974 title as they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 7 games, and if that's confusing you, the Bucks used to be a Western Conference team. And when both Cowens and White had down series, John stepped up. Cowens was getting killed on the boards by a young Kareem, and White wasn't scoring as much as normal, but Havelcheck in the series averaged 26, 8, and 5 and won Finals MVP. And this same core won once again in 1976. John Havelcheck was 35, so he was not as good, but he still averaged 15 points per game in the series, as well as 5 assists and rebounds, but the Finals MVP went to JoJo White, who averaged 22 points per game. But now as a starter, John made 7 all-defensive teams, 9 all-star teams, 7 all-NBA teams, including 4 first-team selections, and he led his team to a title where he won Finals MVP, and was a great contributor in another championship run at 35. And he scored over 15,000 points as a starter and got over 4,000 rebounds and assists. In total for his career, he scored 26,395 points, which is 16th all time. He also holds the Celtics franchise record for points. He grabbed 8,007 rebounds, which is 73rd all time overall, but 6th among small forwards, and he got 6,114 assists, which is 35th all time, but 3rd among small forwards. So with everything that I have just laid out for you, John Havelcheck is, in my opinion, the most underrated player in NBA history. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.